Don't cry out loud, keep it inside. Learn how to hide your feelings. Well, not anymore because Mars is stationed direct, so go on, cough it up. Hello, Aries. Happy holidays. Happy January. I hope that you're feeling good. I hope that you're feeling calm enough to move forward. And I hope that the cat's not got your tongue anymore, because Mars, your bastion of light, your leader, has just stationed direct on the 13th of this month, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So straight off the bat, before we even go into the moon and the sun and the other planets, I really hope and can offer some support in the way of starting to express some of that stuff that's been on your mind. Go for it, go for it, go for it. You've had this lengthy period of time to mull it over, to think it through, to have the conversation with yourself. I suspect that there may have been some little spot fires of anger to extinguish as time has gone on, and I trust you, Aries, that you've been responsible and you've done that. And if not, then reparations have been made for things that may have been said. We must remember that anger is a fine emotion to have. It's how we use it and how we project it that makes the difference. And if there is fights, you can always make up. You can always say sorry. And you can always receive an apology from somebody else too, if it's been a case of you being on the receiving end of some bad behavior. It's tricky with Mars in Gemini. We know this, I've spoken about this a lot, and we can look forward to a bit of a reprieve. I think it's in March 26th, the planet finally gets the heck out of Gemini. What's going to happen between now and then, who knows? So in consideration to this lunation, in consideration to this new moon in Aquarius, which is happening on the 22nd of January at 7:53 a.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. So a great sunrise ritual might be really beautiful to enact. The energy is quite different. The energy is in regard to a sense of intellectual capacity, your ideas about the greatest sense of humanity. Nothing big. Nothing big at all, Aries. It's completely fine. Easy, off the list. Sort out the problems of the world. Let's do it now. So, I'm filming these on the 13th, by the way, so Mars has actually just stationed direct as we speak. So hopefully there'll be a bit more flow in my articulation as well. That's what I'm really gearing up for. But back to you. So at 1 degree of Aries is where the sun and the moon will come into exact conjunction together, and there'll be a masking of the moon's light. It'll be a black night and the perfect night to cast spells. So the spells that you're going to be thinking about as we dive into this new year will be about humanity at large. It will be about your sense of community and where it is that you belong in that and how you interrelate with that sense. I think that there is definitely some division between communities and also inter-community wise as well. So what I want you to think about is, what threads can you pick up? How can you sew these back together? What's the emphasis of what does the sentiment community mean to you? You know, is it just a buzzword? Is it just a box to put yourself in or to put other people in? Is it a category? Or is it a movable, shiftable collaboration? Soul on soul, heart on heart. Is there interest and engagement in the spaces that you're rolling around in at present? As you zoom out and consider the world itself, we know that that isn't the case. So I wonder if you've got the energy to start thinking about how that might be reconciled. It's lofty. Now, don't expect the weight, that weight shouldn't be on your shoulders alone. Don't think that it is Aries, but I think that if we can work with this idea that your planetary space holder, your leader of the pinball formation, Mars, is the one moving forward through your voice box, through your area of folk magic too, I might say. The third house has got a lot of significations in regard to the way that we create in the village. You know, it's a localized sort of microcosm, the third house, definitely about language and communication. It's how we use that and how we find different languages, right? So there is a signification of folk magic as opposed to academia, you know, that difference between the grand halls of the philosophical universities and the back room where you get your cards read by the babe with the hoop earrings. So I've got to use some intuitive tarot here, Aries. And I also maybe wanted to mention a couple of different planets that are going on too. So in your first house, we're starting off the year with a burst of enthusiasm as well. The planet Jupiter is residing in your first house, and it will be for the next several months. It won't be moving out until later. So you can start this year with a sense of kind of optimism and inquisition about your attachment to spirituality and your soul language. There's something really nice here about starting the year off with Jupiter so brightly shining in your first house. It's really great. And also, another thing I wanted to mention was that the asteroid Juno is in an exact conjunction. So they're both sitting at 4 degrees of Aries. Now, I'm learning as I go with the asteroids. I've been reading Dimitri George, and I've been really steeping myself in the significations of these 4 asteroids. They were all discovered between 1801 and 1807, before Neptune and before Pluto, you know? So it's sort of like there is this feeling of like the outer limits. If you consider the genesis of astrology as being Saturn, as being the outer limits, that's why there is that signification of restriction and boundary, because as far as we could see, Saturn was the furthest planet out. But then as time went on and as the technology developed, very Aquarian, we were able to witness further, the outer limits even further. And so Uranus was discovered in the 1700s, and Uranus is one of the rulers of Aquarius itself. So you can see that relationship as well between the Aquarian principle, the idea of an intellect that is revolutionary in terms of society, in terms of a cohabitation that is what's the word? Respectful of the planet and each other. And Uranus, who rebels, revolutionizes, changes the outer limits from Saturn being the boundary to then discovering that, oh no, it's Uranus, the god of the sky, is further out. And then as time went on, the asteroids were found with a horoscope. At one point, the first asteroid to be discovered, which is Ceres, in 1801, was considered to be a minor planet because of its size. So when we're using terms like asteroids and planets and comet, all of that kind of stuff, I would leave it up to you as to what significations you want to inquire about and which ones mean less to you. I will say that don't be a size queen, because Ceres is as big, if not bigger than Pluto. Anyway, what I'm learning is that in tarot, there's the queens, right? There's the queen of earth, fire, water, and air. And the first asteroids that were discovered in the 1800s, which rounded out the counter principle to some of the heavy masculine energy of the zodiac reading, the goddess asteroids, one way to describe them, round out the feminine attributes of the individual, the feminine significations of the essence of oneself. And so in tarot, these elemental queens can actually be assigned an asteroid each too. Don't quote me yet because I'm still reading and researching and writing. I haven't found a lot of information on that principle, so maybe it's, my big published book. But when we think of Juno, another word for Juno is Hera. When we think of Jupiter, another word for Jupiter is Zeus. So you can see Hera and Zeus. When in harmony, so in conjunction, together, they work really well together. And there's a sense of reciprocity, a sense of like reciprocal exchange. The sort of feminine principle, the masculine principle, working in beautiful harmony together in one. Aries, the self. Juno can be the Queen of Cups. So in tarot, we know that we can sometimes look out and inquire as to who is in our environment that can be a signification of this card. But in this particular reading, I feel that there is this counter principle that you might be working with. I feel that there's a polarity here that's unifying Aries. And I think that there's almost like a maturity as well. There's an ability to empathize and also ability to be incredibly optimistic and expand and move forward in your classic way. I hope that wasn't too much all at once. It was a bit of a glut, but they all had to come out, and they did. Watch it in half time, maybe, if I'm talking too quickly. But this coupling, this Juno-Jupiter conjunction, is in support of this moon. So what I'm seeing here is there's something about your self-identification, your sort of soul purpose, what you can feel is your essence, being of real help to your ideas of the community at large. I wonder if you're sort of fossicking away in your mind or your philosophical thought, your brain that worries about the human condition, or that worries about the neighborhood, or worries about even the friend group. There might be dissonance in your friendship groups at present, that you have the wherewithal to act as mediator, to act as some sort of empathetic ear. That could be what's playing out here as well. There's another conjunction in Aquarius. So Venus and Saturn are in near exact conjunction too. I feel there's a coming together. I bring all of this up because I feel there's a real like reconciliation that's occurring here. And so for this reconciliation to be occurring twice over in relationship, yeah, it's just a really sort of hopeful, optimistic way to start the year, I'll be honest with you, Aries. Water of life am I, poured forth for thirsty humanity. This is the mantra for the Aquarian principle. The star card in the tarot is Aquarius. And so there is something about giving here that is really nice. And I can see that this sort of this relief of Mars moving forward, you can finally, talk about it, let it off the leash, say what it is that you've been sort of calculating and coming in together. But even in that, Gemini's duality too, there's a coming together. There's polarity that's forming one. There's something about a sort of I feel that you've got correct me if I'm wrong, Aries, but I think that you're in a place where you can begin again. I have the Fool, the cosmic egg, number 0 in the major secrets. The individual that's setting off, doesn't know where they're going, but they're jumping forward, they're moving ahead with boundless optimism and a great inquisitive mind that wishes to learn, wishes to study, wishes to find out what the meaning of life might be. And then there's this essence of sharing, of having enough and being able to afford to pass it forward, or being in need and feeling content enough in company that you're holding that you'll be able to receive if you're lacking. See that reciprocation again. There's that sort of collaboration, cohabitation. You know, this Zeus Hera energy can be really fraught. They argue, they throw plates, they scream and yell at each other. They're in conjunction here in your first house. So there's something, there's this image of like reconciliation is in my forefront of my mind. And in essence of one though, you know? So what is the polarity? What is the sort of half coming into one here? Because you can't, you need to reconcile that in yourself before you can jump off the cliff, Aries. That's another little message that's just come through. I also will say that, it's almost as if the die has been cast. So whatever is coming to you as I'm saying this, whatever this sort of reclamation of self, reconciliation of polarity, coming together after a time apart, a re-entry into community, a re-entry into feeling like a human being again, if things have been tough for you, if you've been feeling a little silenced or a little blue, a little separate from the group. Yeah, the emphasis is on the collective. The emphasis is on community and your place in that, your reconciled polarity. Yeah. There's so many more ingresses, we call them in astrology. So it's when a planet moves sign. All of the outer limits of our galaxy are moving sign over the next 3 years. It's a big chunk of knowledge to swallow, so I'm going to break it down and I'm going to sort of try and figure out the easiest way to explain it and to kind of also feel it too. I think something just on that notion, Aries, there's something about the Aquarian principle of being separate and looking down on the collective, which we must always remember that there's a place in that collective for us as well, and we should, meld and merge with the others and be ourselves. But on that idea of this era changing, it feels like a big chapter is just finished for us, and we're going to be beginning something else. There's going to be friction, and there's going to be a light. There's going to be a beautiful moment of harmony and hopefully some answers moving forward. Less division, less hate, less criticism, more unity and love and power. That's your reading, Aries. I'm going to leave it there. Good to be back. Hope that made sense. Don't know, I'll listen back to it later. Head to umaruby.com and get your birth chart booked with me. I would love to read for you in a longer format using your chart specifically. And also, if you'd like to tip me for my work, you can head to umaruby.com buymeacoffee.com/umaruby, and you can throw some money in the tip jar. I will be with you in 2 weeks for the full moon in Leo. So until I see you, enjoy this fresh lunation, the first one of the year. Let me know how you go. Let me know what you hope and wish for, and let me know what difficulty with duality you've come into alignment with. That would be great. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.